In this 19th video, we're going to be talking about lighting in the scene. And we're going to start off by just creating some additional space here that we're going to be working with. So I'm going to take the properties that are going to move it down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and make it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to go and take my outliner. I'm going to pull down up the top here just to give another section. And then I'm going to change this one up here to 3D view. Now the 3D view icon's at the bottom. Here I have two instances of my model that I'm working with, and you'll see why I'm doing that in just a moment. When we do lighting, and set it up, it doesn't hurt to just have just a plain shader for everything right before you start putting in materials to get an idea of how it will look. I'm going to do Shift Z to go into rendered view, and right now I have a pretty kind of plain background. I could add a light source right now and then start to work with it and see what it looks like. However, before I do that, I'm going to put in some environment lighting here. So I'm going to go in the properties editor to the world icon. I'm going to go and click on use nodes. I'm going to move my timeline up a little bit. And I'm going to pull down, creating a new section. So my timeline is in this bottom section. And then the timeline, the bigger timeline section, I'm going to change to node editor. And in cycles, we will use nodes for lots of things. I'm going to go ahead and on the bottom line here of the node editor, I'm going to click on the little globe icon. And yours might say use nodes over here. And I already had clicked on that. So now I have my background and my world output. I'm going to do Shift A, and I'm going to go to where it says texture. I'm going to choose sky texture, and then I'm going to link the color by left clicking, draw it over to there, and I can spin this globe to get different shadings and stuff. So it's fairly dark. This one's fairly light. This doesn't replace a sun lamp in your scene if you're doing an outside scene. And since this is outside, we're going to also insert a sun lamp. I'm going to do Shift A, and I'm going to go down to where it says lamp, and they're going to put in sun. And here it's kind of hard because I have it in render view, seeing where things are, but in this view, I can see where my sun is. I can also see my settings here for the sun. And if I click on the little box icon and stuff, I can see my sun lamp represented here as well. I can adjust strength there, or I can adjust the strength of it over in settings over here as well. So I have strength and I have the color, so those are very similar. Okay, so on this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the tool over here in this window that I put up to rotate. So I'm going to hit R, and I'm going to hit Y. It actually doesn't matter where your sun lamp is in your scene. It could be inside the building or whatever. It doesn't generate from the source of the graphic for it. What it does is it actually just sends light all in that one direction. So I'm going to rotate this until I get it in kind of a spot that I like, and click to set it. I can see the shadows being cast there. I'm going to increase the strength a little bit, and there I'm at 1.9. Later on we might do some settings where we can do a bit brighter to work with, and of course this would very much depend on what other things that I have in the scene for this. But if this is my buildings that I have and whatever, this is how I can light it. If I wanted to light the scene at night, I could go back to world settings, and I can turn this, rotate it. Now the sun lamp is still shining on it pretty hard. I can just take that and take it down to nothing if I want. Say I have some street lights that I put in here. Let's go ahead and do Shift A, and I'm just going to put in a cube. Okay, so I'm going to go to Mesh, I'm going to put in a cube, and I'm going to take that cube. I'm going to go over to the Materials Editor. I'm going to say plus here, and then so I can see my cube in this scene. And I'm going to say New, and then I'm going to change this to a emissions shader. So I'm going to click on that, and you can see that I have the light rendering off the scene there. I'm going to pull this out a little bit, do S, Z, make it thinner, maybe even make it smaller. Okay. Whatever I do for that, I'm going to take it on the y-axis, move it down, and let's actually move it up as well. So I move it fairly high here, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit like that. So I don't see it in this scene, but now as I take that strength and start to increase it, I can actually see the lighting affecting how it is up there. I can also change the color of the light, and that will give me some different effects, some different results. That looks very green in there to me. I don't know. That's gross. Okay. So anyway, those are all different things that you can play around in lighting the scene. To figure out what the light should look like before you start putting in textures is not a bad idea. And you can play around with all those settings. If you put additional lights in or use a material for a light, then you should realize that they're going to be in different places. We'll talk more about lighting. Lighting is kind of an essential aspect, of what you create. And part of 3D design and animation is being observant about details, how they affect a scene, what the effect will be. And so that even comes down to sometimes color choices, and also the textures, materials, and environment mapping as well. So anyway, we're going to call that good for this video. You can try some of the different lights out. Not all will be appropriate for your scene, but part of it's getting familiar with how they work.